Hey guys, welcome back to the Mind Body broadcast with Austin and Marty. And today we are going to talk about your coaching options in terms of not necessarily how to choose a coach online or who to choose, but more so differences between an online coach or somebody in person.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I know every online coach out there has gotten the response. You know, I think your service sounds good or whatever, what have you, but I really think I need to work with somebody local, which right off the bat, I'm not even sure exactly what that means or why, because
Mm-hmm.
in 9 times out of 10, the local person is going to have a similar, check-in monitoring process or something that's probably going to be email based or something similar anyhow. So the whole local component is really void at that point. Um, so we can kind of talk about what some of these people might want and why. Obviously, Marty and I are a little biased because we are coaching people all over the world. I'm pretty sure you have, people that are relatively local within driving distance that do come visit you, but it's not a necessary component of your service.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. And I'm the same way. I mean, there's people like if somebody wants to come in and see me, if they're within my state or they want to come from wherever. I mean, I've had people come from a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely more than welcome to. They're welcome anytime. We can make room in the schedule and whatnot, but it's definitely not something that's a necessary component.
No, and I used to think quite a bit differently than I do now, in a sense of I remember being a personal trainer 8, 9, 10 years ago thinking I can't do less than a 1-hour session. I'm going to need to have a 1-hour session, maybe an hour 15, and then I kind of changed my views to 45 minutes, and then depending upon the client, some of them could do 30 minutes. So even that started to evolve and adapt, and then I was like, well, how the heck am I going to get someone's accurate body fat measurement or someone's accurate calipers? Like, I need to do calipers. Like, just all these beliefs that I had that I needed this to be able to accurately assess their progress, and just those kind of things kind of went to the sidelines, not only from me hiring coaches myself, but also just researching how to properly ask the right questions, how to properly respond to emails, how to interpret clients' feedback, how to ask for the biofeedback, and that kind of went from there. And so it's kind of neat because, like, even though yes we are biased, I would say I had the other bias, and so was kind of forced the pendulum to swing the other way, where it was I really don't have a lot of questions I can't answer if someone says, oh, well, what about this? Because this is only good if I see you in person. I go, well, this is how I do it. And they go, oh. And it's you said it kind of right. Sometimes they don't even really know why they want the in person, just other than it's a tangible person. It's kind of like the analogy I like to use is the people that will always go buy their supplements in shop. They just got to go in, buy it right there in their hands, as opposed to going on bodybuilding.com, wherever, and getting the supplements and having it take a day or two, even though it's probably cheaper online, almost is always cheaper, and it's the same damn product. If not, now it's better. So I'll actually finish my full analogy. Is my favorite one that I came up with is the online shopping versus the in person. Right? If you are in a smaller town, then you are limited to the shops that are there. You only have this brand of shoes, this brand of clothing, and whatever sizes are there. So you go in, and you're limited to the coaches that are local to you. So you kind of have to pick from there. But if you start learning how to online shop or whatever like that, then now every brand opens to you. All the options are open to you. You can pick the red shoes that are 8.5 and not have to squeeze your foot into an 8 type of thing. And just like I said about the supplements, sometimes they're going to be cheaper and all of that, but then you get to kind of customize the coach for you. So I think that's such a vital component towards swinging the pendulum towards I would go online, because then you can really customize the coach / product for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I told someone recently that was a new client. I don't know. I feel like they had a relatively good sense of humor, so I figured they would think it was funny. I just told them that I wasn't catfishing them, that I that I was actually a real person over here. So I mean, every once in a while, it might have somebody that's really hesitant. And I'll do a Skype session or something, just something to, and not that we even have to do them all the time, but just something where they can see my face, they can hear me talk, whatever. Yeah, because I mean, hey, the internet it's certainly a wide open space where really anything can happen. But if you're a client and you're doing your research on the coach, they're most likely going to have a pretty solid social media platform.
Right.
They're going to have clients on there. They're going to have, all of these things that you can go back and look at. And if they are fake, they are the best catfisher in the world.
So I'll jump in there at fake. So my Facebook profile picture has been the same for about, I think, 3 years now, and it's airbrushed. It's looking off in the distance and all this kind of fun stuff. And I remember being in some Facebook thread commenting, and I put in my 2 cents or something, and a girl said, "Yeah, okay, maybe if you were real, I'd believe you." And I said, what do you mean if you're real? She goes, "Well, take your picture's obviously fake. You're obviously like a cartoon character or something like that." And I just started roaring laughing because I didn't have a lot of pictures of myself up. I usually would put up client before and afters, everything. And I was like, oh my God, I guess you would think that if you didn't know. So it's so it's funny you say fake, because I was like, this is awesome. People think I'm a cartoon character. I was like, okay. So from there on, I started putting up like how you do really, really, really well with your Q&A videos, because then people get to see you, they get to hear you. So you're not just exactly right, not just copy and pasting. Yeah. Questions and answers and just putting them up there. No, you are doing it in real time, and then you get to say, "Oh, hey, Monica, thanks for that question." And I think that's such a smart idea, and I've been trying to do just more stuff like that myself, even like going on my Instagram story and answering something saying, "Hey, did you know that glutamine in this dose will do this?" And they go, "Oh, wow, he's an actual person." So, yeah, I'll never forget that. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, you make a good point there, and I've actually have had that similar feedback from people on the Q&A videos, that they just like that they like to hear the way I enunciate things and the way I describe things, and kind of emotion with the feedback. And that's cool. I think that definitely helps. And also the same thing with the podcast. I mean,
yep.
They're not necessarily seeing us, it's not a video podcast, but I mean, they know what we look like through photos and stuff, and they can kind of put the voice to the words and a personality to, to the person that's answering their emails and stuff. So, I mean, it's not really that difficult to kind of get a feel for the person.
No.
If that's your concern as a client, I don't think that that's really a difficult task. No. But did you have something else on that one?
Well, the way that I like to look at it was, I remember I would watch lots of documentaries on bands, right? I'd watch one on like Blink-182 back in the day, because that's how old I am, and things like that. And I feel like I knew the band after it. So that's kind of it. You hear the podcast, you see you doing the Q&A, you're like, oh, okay, cool. It feels like they know you a little bit better, or like they've seen the inside of your home or something. So I think there's lots of validity to what you just said there in terms of being able to get out there, and then now they've heard the voice, so now you're a real boy now. So as opposed to just some kind of catfish. Exactly.
Right. And before I lose the thought, I was also going to say, I think people also need to understand too, just for like from a business standpoint, this is, coaches that are doing this for a living. Most of the pretty good coaches out there, the reputable people that are going to do a good job, this is probably their full-time job in some capacity. I mean, they might be doing other little side things. But also, we do have to be able to run a business, and I think the online platform allows us to also run a business a little bit more. I think it's important for people to understand it from that side of things a little bit better, because I worked, and you did too, I worked in the personal training industry too in person, and really if you want to make any kind of respectable living, you're going to do really a couple things. either you're doing a shitload of group training at a cheap rate, and, you're training 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, whatever group, or, classes or whatever, or you're training, 14 or 15 hours a day. And if you're really, really lucky, you just have like high-end clients that pay a lot of money. But, it's the same thing. It's really the same thing as an online coach. There's kind of a number. There's a number. Most good coaches, there's a number that they're not going to go over because of quality, but there also is a minimum. We do have to be able to make a living and stuff. And so as an online coach, I think that allows us to reach more people, get a good coaching process going. I mean,
yep.
If you think about it, if I were to, an example, even if I weren't personal training someone and I were just to, they wanted, let's say I had like an actual brick and mortar building where
right.
clients would come and meet with me in an office.
Right.
And if I had like a situation where somebody is deep in prep and they're checking in with me every single day.
Right.
For one, it's probably not realistic for them to be able to schedule an appointment with me every day. Mm-hmm. That's going to be extremely stressful when they're doing all of the things that are necessary at the end of prep.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it's going to be really hard. How am I going to, what if I have, 15 people that need to check in with me that day? Mm-hmm. Well, I can't overlap them. How I can't expect one person to check in at just random time because that's the only time slot I have open.
Right.
It's whereas online, I can wake up and get 20, 30, whatever emails, and I work, through as many as I can, as quick a pace as I can or whatever. It just allows flexibility because, I mean, as well as I do, I've answered, I think on as a whole, like we'll have some semblance of a routine, when it comes to check-ins and all that stuff. But I mean, there's days where there's no routine. I mean, it's just you get things done whenever you can get them done. I mean, I've answered, it's like you have someone, it's a Friday and you have a bunch of errands to run, but you have a bunch of people competing on Saturday. Well, mm-hmm. Every time I pull into a parking lot, I'm answering messages.
Absolutely. Yep.
Or whatever. Or I'm in the grocery store and I'm answering a message. It's like, you gotta understand that in a one-on-one scenario in person, that's just entirely ridiculous that could ever play out like that.
Yeah. And that's one of the, we'll say, heavy hitting arguments I have is pretty much what you just said in terms of, they're like, well, I want someone in person. I'm like, okay, do you believe that, let's say the last 2 weeks, that you are going to be able to meet with that coach at somewhere between 8 and 10 or whatever in the morning? Because let's say they want to see you fasted. Let's say they want to see you conditioned when they first wake up in the morning. Like, they're not going to come stay at your house. So and then right. they go, and it's one of those things that they don't really think through, I want to say. So that when they go, oh wow, I never thought about that. I'm like, yeah. Whereas if you say to me, hey, I wake up at 5:30 to go to work, I can wake up at 5:30, take photos, send my weight, whatever. I was like, I will for this week wake up at 5:45 for you and tell you if we need to change something or not. And they go, holy shit, really? I said, yes. There's the gigantic benefit for your online coach because you don't need to drive somewhere to see me. It's going to be the same phone. They go, oh, and that kind of is when it's like, we'll say step one in terms of kind of, not, I don't want to use the term waking them up, but just showing them how it could be better to do the online versus the in-person. And I got such a damn good piece of advice from my buddy Jack, my first business coach, who's one of my best friends for a long time. He said, are you a personal trainer? And I said, well, I'm a personal trainer and an online coach. He said, okay, then you're a personal trainer. I was like, well, no. And so what he was trying to beat into my head was that he said, you're not good enough then to be just an online contest prep coach. And holy shit, that hit me like a sack of bricks because it was right, because then I had to do something else to make the end meet, or I didn't have enough clients, or I didn't have enough this. So then I was still a personal trainer, but what did I want to be? Just an online contest prep coach. So that really woke me up that I needed to, get a better reputation and or get more clients and or drop these things that I was just doing for money or to make ends meet, or just had to basically stop living, we'll say, a different lifestyle. Like maybe I was eating out every day, which would be nice. And I had to stop that in order to now say, yes, I am just a just a contest prep coach? Because I did get asked that quite a bit. They're like, oh, what else do you do? Because I know there's so many that will be a bartender on the side, or they will do a couple hours in the morning as a cashier or something like that. Whereas that you are not then an online contest prep coach. You are an online contest prep coach and a bartender. So that was something that I actually will tell other people to ask for their coach. Like, hey, is that all they do? Because are they good enough to have it be all they do, or do they have to do something else? And then you go, okay, then ask them why. Oh, if they're just starting out and they're just transitioning, okay, that's cool. But it's 5 years in, and they haven't been able to either procure enough clients, or they haven't. It doesn't even boil down to marketing, because word of mouth. If you've got people winning shows, people are gonna ask them, who is your coach, type of thing, right? So I think that's something to take into consideration too when you're looking at the online coaches, especially. But even the personal trainers or the in-person contest prep coaches, like, do they leave and then go bartend? Do they leave and then go make the ends meet doing something else? Because then. If you want to talk about being an online contest prep coach who that's all they do, then they will have that time, just like yourself. When you're doing the errands, you can stop and start flipping through your phone. But if you are a bartender and you work from 8 p.m. until 2 in the morning, you're probably not going to be able to get a response because they're too busy doing their other thing. Does that make sense?
Right. And that's not the person that you want if you're paying for it.
Exactly. That's you got it. It's because you like let's say, for instance, it's a Friday night before the show and they're bartending, and you wake up and you cannot stop urinating, and you go, oh my God, and you try to text your coach or whatever, and they're not responsive because they literally can't. That's something you should be asking about, right?
No, absolutely. Yep, I totally agree. And and I mean, that's kind of a different topic, like where do you make that plunge as a coach? But yeah, if you're a client and you're picking.
Oh yeah, totally just going upon client looking for, let's say, the ideal coach for them, like something they can have on their list. Are they okay with them having another job? Are they not okay with it? Right, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, there could be client situations where it's not going to be really that big of a deal. And then there are other situations where, I mean, if you're coaching competitors, if you're somebody that's coaching competitors, I feel strongly that you should be doing this as a career. This should be a full-time job for the most part. If it's like, maybe if it's like your buddies from the gym or whatever, and you're helping them prep for a show and they understand the situation, I see that. Okay. But if you're talking about people that live all over the world and you're taking these people's hard-earned money, I mean, you have to be able to provide the service.
Sure thing. You got it. Okay. I think we should go into talking about the pros and cons of having someone in person versus someone online, or even we can go into what are the resistance questions or resistance statements you've heard versus, oh, I don't want online because of this, or I need in person because of this. What are some of the common ones you've heard?
Well, the biggest ones, obviously, seeing someone in person versus online, I guess, would be, that's not even a good argument though. I have a counter argument for everything. So that's a good thing. That's what I mean though, right? Like, what do you find people are saying to you that you do have arguments for? Yeah. Another one could perhaps be something, along the training related, like biomechanics. Well, I can't, I'm having problems with my squat.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Yep. And what do you say back to that when they say, oh, you can't see me training in person? What do you say back?
I mean, there's like 9,000 different ways that you could take a video and send it now. I mean, you can literally send a video through pretty much any platform at this point.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard to correct something small, in terms of biomechanics, if they're having a problem with one of those things. It's not necessarily something I need to see someone in person. And frankly, if it's something beyond that's actually injury related, they need to be seeing a professional about that injury anyhow.
Right. Not
necessarily us. I mean, there's a limit of things we can do. I can talk about rehabbing and warming up and mobility and all that stuff. But I mean, if we're talking about actual injuries, or they need to have soft tissue work done, or, I mean, stuff like that, I mean, I'm not going to be able to do that anyhow because that's not my job.
Right.
So they do need somebody in person. And most people too are going to have, most good coaches are probably going to have some kind of network of referrals. I mean, heck, I have a couple people I know that do actually mobility assessments and work, and you Skype with them and they go through it and show you how to do it on your own.
I love that is becoming so. It's just like Kenny Wallach composing. I love that, like these masters, literal masters, are now going on Skype and being able to teach their craft. I just had another girl this morning that I went and Kenny was Skyped her, and I just kind of sat in and watched it because I wanted to learn from Kenny, and he knew I was there. And and I asked her, this is her second session now. I said, did you believe you would get this much out of a Skype session? She said no, and because she was I need someone to help me in person. She goes, I did not. I changed my mind. I completely don't believe that now, and I think that's so cool that now we can have this increasing, growing network that they do not need to be local. You can have this entirely online fitness conglomerate, and that's super cool that you said that, because I believe the same damn thing.
Yeah, and it's so I'm trying to think of things. I mean, I'm sure there's something, if I sat and thought about it, that you couldn't necessarily do online. But I mean, as a coach,
yeah,
because I mean, we're talking
chiropractic. You know what I mean? Like massage. Okay, right? Yeah, for sure.
We're talking about, but we're branching out into subcategories. So if we're talking strictly in the realm of physique coaching, giving instruction, all that stuff, I don't know anything. There's nothing that I can think of that we can't do. And what's funny
me neither. Yep.
What's funny is even when I go to client shows, maybe let's say they have a show on a Saturday, they get there early, they get there early on Friday or whatever. And I'm like, it's a local show. I'm going to come up. And I said, hey, I'm not going to be up till Friday night.
Sure.
And when they get there on Friday, I said, find a good spot for some photos, find the best lighting or, whatever. Let's find a good spot, get some consistent photos in. Funny enough, like I'll still use those photos even though I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Me too. Yep. You got it.
I'm going to look at them in person. Like I'm probably going to help them with their posing a little bit. And I'm going to go over some, and I will assess their condition and all that stuff in person. But it's like, I've looked at so many photos and so many different types of lighting. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, the lighting, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's situations where the lighting's just so bad that you can't really tell. But for the most part, I think a good eye, someone that's been doing it long enough, I mean, they're going to be able to tell in different types of lighting, with tan, without tan,
yep,
more or less what's going on. So you could even void that argument there, really.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, because really a lot of the time what I'm doing at that point is it's just a good kind of eases the tension for them. I can see them in person, adds a little bit extra benefit maybe, but they're getting instruction from me, and I'm like, if any of my clients and stuff that I've been to their shows, I'm always just super duper chill the night before, because I like that I like that to rub off on them. And I even tell them, they're like, I'm so excited about tomorrow. And I'm like, nah, like I'm not
right.
downplaying, but I'm also like, let's keep it calm,
Yeah.
Let's be excited after you win type of thing.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Is there anything you can think of? I'm not coming up with much.
No. But that pretty much that one was the, like, you can't see my technique or anything like that. And so what I've been doing is I usually try to give as good of cues through email or whatever as I can. But then I've also been lately, because I have like a little stand dude thing, and I've been videoing myself, like just kind of at my house saying, here's what you're doing and here's what I want you to do. So they see like the physical movement of, let's say they're doing the butt wink on the squat, and I'll say, this is what I want you to do. And they're going, holy crap. And that 30 to 45 second video that I send them really quick on, let's say Instagram or whatever, that is going, they go, oh. And so I have yet to run into, in the, we'll say 8.5, if not more years of doing the online coaching, I have yet to run into someone not get it when I show them the video or show them the text. They always go, and then I get them to redo the video, and then I'm like, yep, there it is, you got it good. So that's what I'm doing a lot, and people really like that too, because then again they get to see me, get to hear me saying like, hi, Austin, I really like what you're doing with your hands, but for your butt, I need you to do this. And they go, oh, wow. And then just even gives them more like of a, in-person experience without being in person, right? So that's definitely one of the things I like to kind of use for that. But just in terms of really big, like let's say I'm in an application process and they're like, oh, I don't get to see you in person, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, you don't. I said, if your show is local, I said, I can do my best to show up as long as it doesn't conflict with anything else. And then that actually makes their world go around. It's kind of funny. They're like, oh my God, I get to see you. I'm like, yeah, of course you get to see me. I gotta go there. And then I've been emceeing quite a few of the shows around here. So then I'm like, yeah, I'll actually be the last person you see before you jump on stage. And they're like, oh my, that's so cool. So there's lots of stuff like that too. But there's never been a extreme resistance toward it, other than I'll talk about one of the funnier things about it is that I remember being in person and people would want to pick the personal trainer because of how they looked. Now, thank you online, thank you 2018. That's kind of been switching in a sense of a lot of the coaches up and coming that I'm seeing, not necessarily contest prep coaches, but there are some in there. I don't really want to say, like, do you even lift, bro? But it's kind of funny how, I'm pretty sure you would have got this when you were growing up too, is like, you wanted your coach to be in damn good shape, right? Or at least has gotten in damn good shape.
Sure.
Like, or competed at one point or something like that, right? Had the experience behind it there. They're not just read a book and now they're online coaching and saying, yeah, I can put you on stage. Exactly. And so, but now I'm kind of finding that, there are people taking on clients that have never been there. They've never heard of a show. They don't know what a show is. So then that it doesn't piss me off. It's just, if anything, they're gonna have a bad outcome, and then they're gonna go, okay, I need to look for someone that's kind of been there, done that. It's kind of like the very first podcast that I was a guest on with you when we talked about that, about how let the ones weed themselves out for the online coaching type of thing, right? But and that's where I'm going into that is, just because they look damn good or they're a damn good competitor does not mean they know shit about how to coach anybody. Which that'll never stop blowing my mind. I think it's just it's the funniest. It's like going up to someone that owns a Ferrari and saying, "Hey man, can I can you make a car for me?" It's like, well, what? I bought this car. Oh yeah, but you own it, so should you make it for me? It's like, okay, why don't I just show you the dealership? Like that. That's the funny thing, right? Because no one goes. Well, okay, some do. I'll say no one, just for the vast majority. No one goes up to the really good-looking competitor and says, "Oh man, who's your coach?" No, they go up and they say, hey, can you diet me?
Right.
And unfortunately, people are doing that. They're popping up Instagrams or whatever, and let them have at it. Maybe they end up being a really good coach. But I'm just saying, I don't want to say the vast majority, but I'll say the majority of those pop-up one-show win, or not even win, just one-show coaches, it's kind of going that way too. So that's another reason why to not just pick the in-person, great-looking person at the gym as your coach. Who have they coached? That's why social media is such a valuable tool, because you can see like the clients, the coaches, we'll call it track records. Who have they gotten in shape? How many people have they got placing? Do they even train people that enter your class you're going into? Are they all bikini? Are they all figure? Are they all classic bodybuilding? So that's another really good way to get around it too. And outside of my shopping mall analogy, that's kind of the way that I really see it. But I will say that for the in-person, I find I don't want to say older people, but I'll say old school people are kind of the ones that really enjoy, because I'll flat out tell you, I lost a client about 3 weeks ago because she really, really, really wanted that in-person connection. And so, and of course, as best to my ability I like saying, okay, what could I have possibly done as an online coach to have mimicked that need of yours to have an in-person coach? And I never really got a great response out of her. So I was like, damn, it wasn't even the fact of just losing the client, but it was that I really would like to have known what she said, because like what we're talking about right now, we don't know too many resistances that are huge that are still picking I want the person to be there argument, right? So I've been looking for more and more of these things, so either I can write about it, we can have, like, obviously this podcast, but just get more information out there about how there are ways around needing that in person. Like, as in, for example, if they feel, oh well, I like my in-person coach doing my measurements, is like, well, measurements, you get to your your significant other, your brother, your sister, whatever, get them to do them the same time, the same. They go, oh, okay, because some don't know this, right? Or like, oh, well, how are you going to do my body fat? It's like, well, when the coach gets that good, like you just said, even in shit lighting, you'll know. And then if not, like obviously, I know you probably have the same kind of policy as me, as I want the same suit, the same time of day, the same camera, the same wall, the same everything, because that will build us now an accurate gauge of the progress photos, right? So it's dwindling, Austin, like in terms of the arguments away from being in person. I just don't see it unless it's a comfort thing, unless it's a hand-holding thing, and then that actually will be a little bit of a deterrent for me, in a sense of if they need me, or if like, oh, I need more contact, I need more this, I'm like, okay, does this mean you're going to be one of those that I need to have an hour-long phone call every day with? And then my rate ends up being $5 an hour, if not less, because of the contact I've had to have with you. So, but yeah, that's I really still enjoy educating as much as I can on the pros and the nothing but the pros of hiring someone that is online versus just picking someone at the local gym.
Yeah, and what you said there too about picking someone based on looks, or picking someone based on, for online it's looks and marketing. You know what I mean? Like the people that can't see through marketing the marketing is fine if you're marketing something that's real and true and good. It's the same thing in person. Just, I mean, you're going to have the same thing in the local personal training scene. You're going to have the same things online. The people that are going to pick those types of personal trainers in person are also going to get burned online. And you just can't save everyone. I mean, if you got it. People, it still gets me. Like I get people that come to me a lot, and I'm thrilled that I'm like, now you're here. I'm going to do my best to treat you right. And,
right.
So on and so forth. I'm sorry you had to go through all these experiences and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but man, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, but I've gotten 15 people that have said the same thing about the same person. It's like,
oh, I know yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I'm thinking, I know they probably don't talk because there's a billion people, but still, I'm like, man, when I look around online, maybe it's just because I know what I'm looking for, and I kind of have that tainted view of the industry,
right?
But I'm like, I see it. It's blatantly obvious when there's, what people are doing, and when they're doing it, nothing. I feel like maybe there is some stuff that gets by me, but I feel like for the most part, not a lot gets by me. But I think again, that probably just comes with having been in the industry a long time and having heard so many stories and so on. But then again, I have had clients too, and I love when I hear this, is they're like, man, I've been following you for 3 years. I'm
right.
Like, 3 years. I'm thinking like, in 3 years, how many coaches did they come across? And they decided they're going to work with their first coach. They've been following me 3 years, and they decided to pull the trigger. To me, it's like, hey, I wish you would have came 2 years ago, but
yeah, for sure.
You're thinking, okay, this is someone with a good head on their shoulders. Yep. This person's done their homework. They know what they're looking for. They're probably relatively educated, So, I like to think that when the way you market as a coach and stuff online, and the way you present yourself, you're going to attract the type of clients that you want ultimately.
Exactly. Positioning, right? That is a marketing term, but it's positioning. In other words, how do you position yourself online? Do you position yourself as someone that runs a 12-week boot camp? Do you position yourself that gives someone lots of attention to detail and is always there, right? Because that will, and if you always make that clear, and all of your clients receive that, then that's over the years that will just build up and build up and build up, and then like that. Let's use the example of that person that was looking into you for 3 years, and it's definitely nothing even against you, but maybe they've been burnt, whatever, it doesn't matter. But then they see, holy crap, he's still here 3 years later. Clients are looking better. he's looking better. Okay, that is now I'm for sure the right choice. Like I know people that have waited 5 years before they've gotten a car that they've wanted because they wanted to see if the warranty's crapped out or if someone else's that's had it that the paint started to rust off or something, right? Like that's cool stuff, man. Like and I love that too. And they're like, yeah, I've been following you for X, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Thank you very, very much. And then like I try to go into why now, and maybe it was a financial reason, maybe they were in school, or maybe they were doing something, right? But it's always super cool to see that too. And then the coaches worth the salt, in my opinion, will stick around. You know what I mean? They won't be in it for 1 or 2 years and all of a sudden they don't exist. But they're still there. They're still doing it. They got more clients. They're better. All that kind of good stuff for sure.
Yeah, and that's a reason we do these podcasts. Put out good free. It's free.
It's free. You got it.
Free content. It's the same reason I do the Q&As. Same reason I post stuff on Facebook and Instagram, and it's the same reason. You just never know. You never know who's watching, and the educated client is going to benefit from that stuff, and they're going to choose their coach wisely at the end of the day.
That's why I like a lot of the live stuff too, right? Like I haven't done it, but I was even saying to a girl the other day about how Krebs cycle worked and how she's like, okay, how does keto actually work? And I kind of said to her, like, she's like, I've asked 2 of my other friends that are coaches, and they said, well, you become fat adapted. And I was just like, because they just don't know, right? Because either it's because but what quote unquote they know was take away carbs, then this will happen, fat adaptation. But where I'm going with this is that the science or the why, the real why, is just kind of falling apart. Now, do me and you have clients come up and say, hey, Marty and Austin, can you explain the full transition from being running off of glucose to running off of ketone bodies? I get that maybe once every 2 years, if that. But and that's the funny thing, is to be able to differentiate between that versus the people that just have a dynamite marketing system, like you said, and or good clients, because sadly you can get a business off of just doing that, saying and using, we'll say, buzz bro words like fat adaptation or fasted cardio does this and this, and you go, oh wow, because it will sound so damn plausible. Like, listen to the term switching it up or muscle confusion, like that. If you can make up a plausible bullshit explanation and people go, yeah man, that's fucking right. So it's always fun to be able to jump in and go, actually, here is how that works. And people go, oh wow, you know that? I'm like, yeah, I studied that in 2006 when Lyle McDonald was first talking about it. And they go, oh my god. So I like that stuff, right? It's not that we need to prove ourselves or anything like that, because it's beyond that. But it's a fun ride to see if people actually do want to pick someone that knows the whys as opposed to just knows that it happens, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and that kind of adds another notch in the online belt too. Talking about the accessibility to be able to ask people those kinds of questions, and to be able to ask a coach questions, and to be able to see their social media platforms and all that stuff. Because hey, let's be honest. I mean, social media is 90% of marketing.
Mm-hmm. I would say so.
And that's probably a generous, maybe a soft number even for some people. It could be more. But yeah, and I know a lot of personal trainers and stuff that do it in person. They still post their clients online and all that stuff, and they might post some information, but I don't think but they're not able to put out, I don't know that they would be able to put out the kind of content on a regular basis that someone that solely works from their computer is going to be able to do. Because
right.
I know, people would be surprised. Like you'd see me or you or somebody jump in and comment on something online or post something, and they must think, and they're probably thinking like, oh, he's got some free time or something. I'm like, no, I was probably walking through the house. It popped in my head.
Exactly.
It's like I posted it up, or I was literally, I post stuff grocery store parking lot. I'm like, oh man, I thought of this on the way to the grocery store. I need a I'm gonna put this on there. It's like, you never know. The efficiency an online coach and what an online coach is able to provide in that regard when they're solely working on a computer or a phone is just, you can't match that in person.
Yep. You got it. I agree.
So that's my closing remark.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So from my closing will be really try not to limit yourself to just a local coach. I'm not going to give a hard statistic here and say 10% of local coaches are great, because I don't know that. Maybe you hit it out of the park, and let's say you go to Austin's gym. Awesome. Perfect. Definitely grab a hold of that kid and get him to hire you. He smells nice too, usually before the workout. Don't worry about afterwards. So hire Austin. And then other things are just ask more damn questions to your online coach. Right? Who have you worked with? Or can I contact them? Do all this stuff, right? Like, don't fall for just the marketing. Absolutely not. Take a look at their portfolio. You know what? You can look at their physique if you really would like to. I'm not going back on what I said in terms of they need to be jacked and tanned and all this stuff, but in terms of having to be there. But if they have never been to a bodybuilding show yet they're coaching bodybuilders, that's a little bit off to me. Maybe someone else will have a different opinion, but it will be completely up to you in terms of how to kind of differentiate between that. And you know what? I might even write up here, Austin, after this, questions to ask your potential coach, and we'll just attach it to the notes or something like that there to help people out there so that they can kind of say, oh, well, you know what? Okay, maybe if I do try an online coach, I will ask them kind of this fun stuff, because I love it when people say, can I talk to your current and former clients? I say, absolutely you can. Would you like guys, girls, blah, blah, blah. I say, here's their name on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And that's awesome, because that like anything that I can do to make them be more confident in their decision, as opposed to being like, oh, I don't know about that weird hair guy, so then I'll do it, right? So, but yeah, I will always be on the side of online coach now. I've probably hired 5 or 6 myself to not only gain knowledge from them, but to be able to ask them questions, because I know that they're going to have a better education base than, we'll say, the local coach. And that's not saying that there isn't going to be local coaches that have a widespread education base. I am saying that now I'm going to be able to pick someone that really looks along the lines that I am. Maybe I've watched them, like, okay, cool, he believes some of the things that I am. Oh, okay, that guy likes carb cycling. I like carb cycling too. So then there'll be kind of you can figure out your fit, as opposed to picking just someone because they're there. It's just like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Potentially, maybe you need to go look for more square pegs, for more round pegs that kind of jam with you. See it, like, talk to them a little bit, maybe talk to them on the phone. But yeah, other than that, that's my wrapping up statement as well.
Yep. And I think regardless of what you're doing, it's like we mentioned several times, it does boil down to the client doing their homework. That's,
absolutely.
You have to do your homework, people. You can't blindly pick, unless you feel like pissing your money away.
Yep.
So,
yep, that's right. I will say one further thing on that, sorry, is that price is funny. I've seen really decent coaches for $100, $150 a month, and I've seen crap coaches for $700 a month. So just looking at a high ticket price, say, oh wow, that coach must be good. Try not to do that. Now, I can say that in general, the higher ticket, the better, in a sense of, okay, they've been around for X years, they have this many clients, okay, but then expecting to pay $50 a month, let's make it outrageously cheap, and then expect world-class coaching, that's it as well, right? And then usually, especially if you're going to have personal training sessions or whatever, you are going to be paying considerable amount more in person, for sure, versus online. Online can be a much more economical option.
Yeah, it's not even close. I think what you could say about the online pricing is the only thing that you need to be aware of is, with someone that's super expensive, just make sure that they, and this is hard to do, but if you do your research, kind of look around on their social media and what have you, maybe talk to previous clients, just make sure that they're not too bogged down.
Right. Right.
Because just because you pick someone that is good doesn't mean you're going to get the same service as super duper IFBB pro client of theirs.
Yep.
that's let's not go into that, but
Yeah, exactly. But you can tell that too.
It's worth mentioning.
Yep, definitely. Like the prize pony clients, like I see that a lot, right? Like as in they'll have a prize pony and they'll show them that kind of coaching versus then you're just off-season competitor B and you don't hear from it should be very clear when you talk to the coach how many touches do I get a week, like how many times do I get to communicate with you, blah blah blah. Like definitely don't be like we said, don't be scared to ask them lots of questions and don't be scared to prod and poke a little bit for sure.
Yeah, because I just got another client the other day and they said they didn't give me the name, I didn't ask.
Yep.
Don't really care, hey, this shit, it happens a lot, it happens so much.
Yep, that's right.
They hadn't received. Don't get me wrong. You get a plan. You're not paying the coaches for plans. You're paying the coaches for results and for tweaks to the plans and what have you. But their coach had not touched their plan in almost a year and a half. And I find it very difficult to believe. I find it very difficult to believe that they didn't adapt to their plan in a year and a half. And they were working with. They told me how much they were paying too. I mean, they were paying quite a high ticket price. I mean,
wow,
we're talking pretty substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
So
always the way.
It happens, unfortunately.
Yep. Okay. Well, then I hope you boys and girls got something out of this one. We tried to keep this one a little bit shorter just because there wasn't a lot to say, but we made it more comprehensive in terms of just the differences between the two, because I know I get asked quite a bit about that in terms of how can I troubleshoot online versus in person, and then obviously Austin did too. So from the two of us here at the Mind Body Broadcast, we will see you next week.